Hi, my name is Brittany Partridge, and I'm an attorney at Butler Kahn. I'm going to talk to you about my experience after being in a car wreck in last year, as I've now finally, in March of 2025, resolved all of the claims that are associated with the car wreck. And so first, I'm going to talk about just the car itself and what evidence was important for me to get in order to be able to protect myself as I went through the claims process. So July 31st, 2023, I was rear-ended on 85 North by a young man who was driving on a suspended license and not paying attention to the road ahead of him. We were driving in the Peach Pass lane, and traffic had slowed down up ahead right before 285, as y'all are probably familiar. And as I'm slowing down, he just comes barreling, and he winds up going, as I'm down, I'm in an SUV, he's in a sedan, he kind of goes up under my car and pushes me forward. Thankfully, I had slowed down enough so that I did not hit the car in front of me, but the damage was more severely to his vehicle. Thankfully, both of our cars were still able to drive because Georgia law actually requires you get out of the roadway after an accident. You should not stay in a roadway. You should get to the shoulder. And so we did just that, and thankfully he did pull over to the side of the road, and we exchanged licenses and insurance cards. Wanted to make sure that I had that. But before that, while I'm actually still changing lanes, I call 911. I, as an attorney, and just as anybody who's ever been in a wreck, it's important that you have that police report so that when your insurance company says, well, who is at fault, you have some evidence of that. I mean, granted, I was rear-ended, but you never know. So it is always important that you do get a police report with information about when it happened, how it happened, and most of the officers around Metro Atlanta do have body cams, so that will also be there to potentially help you in a case later. But I called 911, got to the side of the road, like I said, exchanged information, including taking a photo of his license and taking a photo of his insurance card. I also took photos of both of our vehicles, and then I got back in my vehicle. I've seen too many cases where people are hit on the side of the road, walking around, because drivers do not always see people on the side of the road, so I stayed in my vehicle. Unfortunately, something in Brookhaven had happened that day where I believe there was a shooting, so most of the police officers were dealing with a much more important issue with the shooting, but did about an hour and a half later come to the scene, and that is when I found out that the man who hit me was actually driving on a suspended license and should have been arrested for doing that, but the police officer was kind enough to let him go home with his parents. He was a younger man, but you cannot drive on a suspended license in Georgia, and it is a arrestable offense. So after I've exchanged, the information, I know that the police have come, they've documented it. I'm told a police report will be ready in 3 to 5 business days, and I get a case number. I go home. It was then at that point too late to go to urgent care. I was feeling some pain in my back and neck. I didn't believe anything was broken, so I didn't want to go to the hospital, but I did plan to go to urgent care soon. I actually woke up the next morning in a lot more pain than I went to bed, so I went to urgent care that morning and was basically told to take some, muscle relaxers and ibuprofen, wait 2 weeks, and see how you do. Without getting into too much detail about all that medical treatment stuff, I did not feel better after 2 weeks, so did wind up treating with an orthopedist. But the most important part of those, 24 hours was that I got the information for the other driver having his license. I took photos actually of his license plate as well, just in case anything were to happen, had his insurance card, and also did get the treatment that I needed within that time period, so that I knew that I would be okay, and I figured I would be, but just it's important to always get the treatment that you need just to get checked out. I did make a claim with State Farm. That was his insurance company that day. I went ahead and logged into the portal because my car needed to be fixed. I mean, he rear-ended me, caused pretty bad damage to the bumper, and then I was kind of worried about what was underneath, since his vehicle did somewhat go underneath my car. I am then referred to a body shop of State Farm's choice, which in hindsight, wish I didn't do, but I do not practice property damage law. I practice bodily injury, and while they kind of go together, the property damage piece of everything is it can be a frustrating time, but I wanted to get my car repaired and I wanted it done quickly, and I needed to still keep working and still, take care of my life, so I needed a vehicle. But anyway, without getting too much into that again, within 48 hours, I get an offer from State Farm for $500 to release all of my claims. And I knew not to take that. Within 48 hours of getting hit, you do not know how you're going to feel. You do not know how this wreck has affected you. You do not know what's to come. My car was not even fixed at this point, and they just wanted me to, take $500 to release my claims. That was not going to be it. So I told them no, or really just ignored it, and went about my business to get my car fixed. So that's kind of the introduction to part one of what happened. And in part two, I'm going to talk more about the property damage piece, including diminished value. And then in part three, I'm going to talk about my personal injury claim and how I handled that.